Imagine this, one of the greatest minds in history. Feet, René Descartes. Or left behind a secret, a manuscript that almost no one was meant to see. You've probably heard the phrase, "I think, therefore I am." But what if I told you? Descartes also wrote something that could have destroyed the foundations of modern science and religion. So dangerous, it was never published. Now ask yourself, how much of your own reality is shaped not by truth, but by what was allowed to reach you? How many ideas that could change your life are buried, hidden behind locked doors of history? Tonight, we're going to explore not just Descartes' philosophy, but the manuscript that was silenced. And in that silence, a question lingers. What was so powerful, so revolutionary, that the world wasn't ready to hear it? Now picture this. Centuries later, we are still debating the same questions. Who controls truth? Who decides what we are allowed to learn? The fact that a document could vanish simply because it was too disruptive shows us that history isn't just about what happened. It's about what we were permitted to know. And if that's true, then maybe much of what we call knowledge is just the shadow of something greater, hidden in plain sight. René Descartes is remembered as the father of modern philosophy, a man who sought certainty in a world of doubt. He gave us the tools of rationalism, the belief that reason could uncover truth. But beneath this polished surface was another Descartes, a man fascinated by visions, mysticism, and strange experiments with consciousness. Few know that he claimed to have had a dream that revealed to him the structure of reality itself. And even fewer know that some of his writings hinted at forces beyond the material world. Now imagine this. If Descartes, the champion of reason, was secretly exploring the irrational, how would that change the way we see him? And more importantly, how would it change the way we see ourselves? Think about the paradox here. A philosopher who built his reputation on clarity and order was secretly moving through realms of mystery and shadow. And doesn't that sound familiar? How many times have you shown one version of yourself to the world, while hiding another, deeper, stranger version within? If even Descartes lived this duality, maybe it's not a weakness. Maybe it's the doorway to understanding reality itself. Historians whisper about it. A manuscript Descartes never published, possibly hidden, possibly destroyed. Some say it dealt with geometry and metaphysics, but not the geometry of classrooms, the geometry of existence itself. Others believe it contained reflections on the soul, on the possibility of multiple worlds, on knowledge that transcended sensory experience. In other words, ideas far ahead of his time, ideas that would have been condemned by the church and ridiculed by early scientists. Think about this. If such a manuscript had reached the world, would our understanding of reality today look completely different? Would the split between science and spirituality have ever existed? Now picture this hidden book in your mind. Each page filled with insights that could collapse centuries of dogma. Each diagram not just a line or a circle, but a map of how the universe itself breathes and organizes. Imagine if instead of being erased, it had spread like fire through the minds of his generation. Would we still live in a world divided between faith and science? Or would we already inhabit a unified vision of mind, matter, and spirit? There's a pattern in history. Whenever knowledge threatens power, it disappears. Books are burned. Manuscripts vanish. And what remains is the story the rulers want us to believe. Descartes' missing work fits that pattern perfectly. Because he wasn't just asking, "What is real?" He was asking, "Who decides what we are allowed to know?" And that question is still alive today. Think about how many times you've felt that sense, that the truth was right in front of you, but hidden, filtered, edited for consumption. Maybe that's not paranoia. Maybe it's the same mechanism that silenced Descartes, still at work in your own life. Now take this further. When you scroll through your feed, when you see curated headlines, when you sense that what's missing matters more than what's present, that's the echo of this ancient censorship. The system hasn't changed. It just adapted. And if truth could vanish in the age of manuscripts, imagine how much easier it is now, when entire realities can be rewritten with a single click. Here's the paradox. The same man who shaped modern science may have been secretly pointing toward a mystical truth. Mind and matter weren't separate to him. They were reflections of a deeper unity. This hidden manuscript might have contained the seeds of something radical, a bridge between consciousness and physics, a map where geometry was not just numbers and lines, but a key to unlock how thought itself shapes reality. And suddenly, Descartes' famous phrase, "I think, therefore I am," takes on a completely different meaning. It's not just about identity. It's about creation. That reality is born not from what exists outside, but from the act of perception itself. Now imagine if this manuscript had reached the right hands, mystics, scientists, seekers, what new worlds might have opened? Instead of centuries of division, we might have had centuries of exploration, where telescopes and meditation mats were seen as tools searching for the same truth. Maybe this wasn't just philosophy. Maybe it was the roadmap for the consciousness revolution we're only now beginning to rediscover. So why was it silenced? Because truths like this break systems. They break the control of institutions, the authority of priests, the dominance of governments. If people understood that their thoughts, their perceptions, their very awareness could shape reality, obedience would collapse overnight. And that's why manuscripts vanish. Not because they're false, but because they're too true for the world to handle. So ask yourself this: what manuscripts are still hidden? What truths were erased before you ever had a chance to see them? And how many times has your reality been written for you, without your permission? Now think of it personally. How many times have you silenced yourself because the truth felt too much for others? How many ideas have you buried because you feared judgment, ridicule, rejection? That's the same censorship, alive inside you. And maybe breaking free begins not with ancient manuscripts, but with daring to let your own inner truth see the light of day. René Descartes left us with more than philosophy. He left us with a warning that the deepest truths may never reach the light of day. But he also left us a key. Because even if the manuscript was destroyed, the questions remain. And questions are seeds. Seeds that grow when you dare to ask, what am I not being told? What reality is still hidden? And maybe, just maybe, the real manuscript isn't in some dusty archive. Maybe it's written inside you, waiting to be remembered. Welcome to Fragments of Reality.